Ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, welcome. It is Sunday evening once again, and it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. There is actually no greater position in life, I think, than being a mother. I think it is the most fulfilling thing that a woman can do. And, I have heard from, 4 out of 5 of my children today. I will not rat out the one person who has not made that phone call yet. Well, maybe I'll check my phone. Maybe he tried to call me and I was busy. Then that it's one of the boys. So, but it's always great to hear from the kids and to just get that appreciation too. There is really, it's a special bond a mother has with a child, and the same thing with the father. But I tell you what is my greatest joy and my magnum opus. And so there you go. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. The phone number here is 312-642-5600. We have a very full show for you tonight. This first half hour, I'm going to be talking to you about some things that I am most concerned about. In the second half hour, I have Adrzejewski on. We're going to discuss 2 of his reports that he has recently put out. One of them about the woke universities and all the federal tax money that they are receiving. And it's in the tune of billions of dollars in just the last 4 years. Billions of dollars are going to these woke universities that refuse to rein in the pro-Palestinian encampments. And then they also have another problem. They're getting money from, quote unquote, the state of Palestine. Yes, you heard that right. The state of Palestine. Well, there is no state of Palestine. So how is it that the Palestinian state is remitting money back to universities in the United States? How is that possible? Actually, what they're doing is they're giving us our own money back because we have been supporting the Palestinians for quite some time and the people of Gaza. So we're going to talk about that. In my second hour, I start out the conversation. The whole half hour is a pre-taped segment with Dr. John Eastman. You will not want to miss this. He is 100%. He's doubling down on his concept that, you know what, that the election was stolen in 2020. He's not backing away. He's doubling down. He's more sure than ever that is what happened. And so we talk about that in the indictments in Georgia and the indictment in Arizona and what that portends for him in the future. And then, of course, we'll finish up the last half hour with the Edgar County Watchdogs. But let's get right to it, because on Friday night, I went to the Illinois Right to Life banquet, and their speaker there was Kirk Cameron. Most of you know him from Growing Pains. He's the father of 6. 4 of the children are adopted, so he had a really awesome pro-life story to tell. And he talked a lot about his family and their situation in that regards. But in the VIP session, and I took a VIP ticket because I am on the Illinois Right to Life Action Board, so of course I ponied up the money for a VIP ticket. And Kirk talked about his other thing that he's famous for, and that is taking on woke libraries that host drag queen story hours. Kirk Cameron is famous for going in there and saying, hey, I'd like to come in and talk about faith and hope and love and virtue, and I'd like to read stories about that to children. And he has been denied, of course, by a lot of the woke libraries. So, of course, he is taken to the courts and he is sued. He has successfully sued, and he's gotten to tell his story. But in the process, he has found out that there was a real lack of reading material for age-appropriate kids on a number of virtues. So he created something he calls Brave Books. And Be Brave is the name of it. So Be Brave, and it's teaching kids about virtues and explaining things to them at their level, and giving them a little bit of courage. One of the books that he's talked about specifically was Elephants Are Not Birds. This is one of the books that Kirk wrote himself. And in this book, Actually, no, Ashley St. Clair wrote this one. There's 50 of those Be Brave books out so far. Kirk said he wrote 3 of them himself. And in this one, it essentially tells the story how an elephant wants to become a bird. And of course, that's not possible. And, you know, when the tree catches on fire and they need somebody to go get water from the creek, it's the elephant that helps out. And so the elephant finds his value in being who he was created to be. So it's obviously a nod to what's happening in the transgender world. And so he talks about these books and how important it is to read to kids about being brave. And so I asked Kirk a question. I said, you know what? It's really not the child's responsibility to be brave in society right now. They're just children. It is really the adult's responsibility to be brave. When are you going to write a book about adults becoming brave? And he said, actually, I wrote one. It'll be out in this fall. I think he said September. So good for him. But that leads me really to the point. Why do we have adults that are so afraid to stand up to the nonsense going on? Why? I just actually don't get it. I don't understand why there's not more people out, for example, at Downers Grove Library, protesting the fact that they now want to have an after party to kick off Gay Pride Month for teenagers. Why? Why are you pushing this stuff onto teenagers? Why are you using public assets to do it? Where are the brave people to say, we're not funding this, we're not supporting this, we're not doing anything with it? If teenagers want to have their own party like this, they can do it somewhere else. They don't need to do it in the public sphere. Where are the brave people? Where are the brave adults? I don't see them. I don't see them anywhere. Where are the brave adults that are pushing back? Let's just take an economic issue. Where are the brave adults pushing back on, you know, the $827 million that Governor Pritzker just signed over to Rivian for an investment into their EV technology, which nobody's buying? Well, there was one brave adult doing that. One brave adult down in Springfield who actually said something on the House floor. And take a listen to State Rep Brad Halbrook.
Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, we were invited to EV Day at the Governor's Mansion. Hopefully you were able to be there. There on display was the latest and the greatest in electrical vehicle manufacturing. Ford, GM, Lions, and Rivian, and some other manufacturers. What is most interesting about this early afternoon event was just a few hours later, Rivian's quarterly earnings call would be out. This leads us to today's number. Today's number is $38,784. That's right, every Rivian vehicle on display that had been manufactured recently had been losing $38,784.
Okay. Now, we talked about this last week. I explained to you exactly what was going on with the Rivian deal. I explained to you that more than likely almost $200 million of that will probably be remitted to Rivian in cash. I explained to you that they've been losing money. They've never been profitable. And here again, of course, he sends them this money. He signs the deal. He puts it out in a big press conference on Thursday, knowing full well that Rivian was going to announce their quarterly report the following Tuesday. 5 days later, it's exactly what we thought. Sure enough, they lost money. They lost over $38,000 on every single electrical vehicle that they sold in the first quarter of this year. And they are not expected to be profitable through the end of this year as well. Not one bit. And we are funding them. So where are the brave people standing up against this? I put a post out about this, and it just basically went viral. We put out this clip about Brad Halbrook, and it's got over 10,000 views. So people are paying attention. We're happy for that. But now it's time to take the next step and call your state legislator and say, what the hell are you doing with my money? Why are you letting Governor Pritzker become a venture capitalist with our tax money? That's essentially what he's doing. We do not have the luxury to lose this money. Right now, if they do not do the tax increases that Pritzker wants, his budget is unbalanced by $800 million. $800 million. And in fact, his deputy director, Andy Manar, went out in the press this week and said that they need those, that his agencies, in fact, he directed his agencies to look for cuts because they may not get the tax increases through in this budget year. And well, let's see, it's the 10th, May 10th. They have about 2 weeks left to pass a budget in the state of Illinois without going into overtime. And so now's the scary part, because they're all down there asking for money. That's what they're doing. They're all down there asking for money. And let me think here. I'm looking for one more clip here. I don't see it yet. Okay. Okay. I wanted to take you to this other one then. You know what? Actually, I'm running out of time, so we're gonna play that in the next session after I go to break here. But one more thing about being brave. You know what? We'll do that too. We're gonna go to break early. I'll be right back. I got a couple more things to talk about being brave on in the next section.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
Hut, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Oh, it's been actually really good. I'm 81 years old. I'm a retired nurse, and I have found, I've taken it for about 5 years, I do feel better. At first, there wasn't a drastic change, but I found it really has made, a difference in my lifestyle. It does improve our quality of life.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights. It is time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools. How can we subject our loved ones to forced, ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings? You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, we have operated a Christian school now in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com, ChristianLiberty.com.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. 312-642-5600 is the number here. Now, while Brad Hallbrook, state rep, was pushing back against the $827 million to Rivian has an incredible amount of money. In that same day, there was nearly no pushback in the Higher Education Appropriations Committee of the House, where they were presented for 3.5 hours the idea that we are going to use race-based funding for higher education. 3.5 hours of discussion, and there was nearly no pushback. Now, State Rep Dan Swanson did ask a few pertinent questions. Just to give you an idea of the conversation, I'm going to play a little bit of that committee hearing.
And does the formula take in any consideration of graduation rates as a metric of success with our dollars?
In the sense that it is a factor included in the formula, outcomes such as graduation rate are not included in any of the metrics, as the measures that the state is looking at overall and the data and the gaps and the progress we're trying to make, the state does look at that. There are recommendations in the report around transparency so that it's much clearer where every institution is. And then as institutions get closer to adequate funding, to then begin looking at what are accountability measures if those gaps aren't closing, if we aren't seeing enrollment in all of the areas in the data that we outlined.
Okay, so that clip goes on for quite a bit. In fact, it was, the whole thing was 3.5 hours. But I just wanted to give you a sense of the babble, the babble that goes on here. She's not answering the question other than say, we're going to spend $1.4 billion. We're asking you for $1.4 billion over the next 10 years. And no, we're not relating it to anything. No graduation rates, no nothing, no even admissions. I mean, this is race-based funding. They want more minorities to come in. But you know what? If you get, your funding is always guaranteed. You're always guaranteed. They put a hold harmless in. You're going to get whatever you want, you have right now. And you're going to get additional money every single year. But it doesn't matter if you have more minorities entered. It doesn't matter if you have graduation rates improve. It doesn't matter any of that. I mean, this is the type of and it went on and on. I mean, Swanson did, and he at least asked questions. Okay, that's a pretty low bar, but at least he asked questions. But other than that, there was literally no pushback. Nobody was brave enough to take on these so-called experts in the education field that could not answer a question. Another part of that conversation was about, well, we're going to give you this money, and you say they need to spend money on this, that, and the other thing. What's to say that they're going to spend money in the buckets that you say they need to spend money? Oh, well, there's no requirement to do that either. But, as it goes on and we look at it over time, and once they're fully funded and if things aren't improving, then we'll start to look and see what outcomes are. Then we'll start to look and see what they're spending their money on. It's just all a bunch of BS. It's exactly what you heard. But nobody is brave enough to take on these people in Springfield, or very few of them are. Very, very few of them are. And there was almost no questioning in this higher ed appropriate committee. It was a debacle. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about is, do you remember those frat boys from North Carolina? I had gotten to a little discussion with some military folks because I was a little bit offended. I mean, they're having this rager party apparently, and I guess they've decided that some of the money that's been raised for this big party because they defended the flag is going to actually be given to charity. Okay, that's great. Good. Applaud them for that. But, I got really upset because they had that meme of the frat boys raising the flag on Iwo Jima. I personally, I was offended by it. There's nothing brave about, telling these protesters to sit down and shut up and know you're not taking the flag down for a second time. If that constitutes bravery in America for this generation, then, just forget it. Lights out. Just forget it. But you know what? I'm not the only one saying that. It is a very perilous situation. And this came from the Asia Times. It's a really, really lengthy article. I can't go over all of it. It's written by Eric Prince. Eric Prince is a former Navy SEAL officer and the founder of the private military company Blackwater. He knows what he's talking to about. He's been in dangerous places. But this is how he opened up this very, very lengthy article, Asian Times. I'm not sure if I tweeted it out, but I will tweet it on my Jeannie Ives Twitter page, X page. And he writes, "It is painfully apparent to anyone of sound mind and judgment that there's something gravely wrong with America's current military capacity and our ability to project power in the world. The World War II era fighting force composed of 14 million GIs with a muscular industrial base backing them up is almost unimaginable today. In the last 3 years, 5 different U.S. embassies have been hastily evacuated: Sudan, Afghanistan, Belarus, Ukraine, and Niger. Americans are held hostage in Gaza. Commercial shipping traffic is blockaded, and our ground and naval forces are shot at daily with impunity. How did America go from winning the Cold War and becoming the sole global power in the 90s to the state of disarray that we find ourselves in now?" And he goes on and on through all of it. He says one reason is financial. Indeed, at least 30% of the current national debt consists of military overspend from the so-called global war on terror. The reality has created an absence of strategic discipline and military policy that prioritizes a tiny guild of contractors feeding an obese, top-heavy structure rather than winning wars. He says the roots go back to Ronald Reagan and, Reagan's pivot to end the Cold War. But you know what? He also says that the so-called peace dividend that followed the end of the Cold War was redirected into expanding NATO instead of ending it. And he talks on and on about just how we have failed Susan Rice and Bill Clinton. They failed in Africa. 11,000 UN peacekeepers at a cost of $1 billion plus per year in the 1990s. Were deployed, but they didn't solve the problem. Okay. This decade in West Africa occurred on the heels of an even greater catastrophe further east, and that was Rwanda. We failed in Somalia. We've had unanswered attacks in Nairobi, Dar al Salaam, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and then New York, where hundreds of lives were claimed as well. And he goes on and on. I mean, it's just really important that people understand that. He said the U.S. response to 9/11 should have resembled a Scipio Africanus-style Roman punitive raid, killing all Taliban and all al-Qaeda remnants within reach, including those sheltering in tribal areas of Pakistan, and then withdrawing. Instead, the neocons saw a lucrative opportunity to nation build. I mean, this is really worth reading. Here's one thing that I think it's also important to talk about. He says the Taliban were self-funded insurgency composed of mostly illiterate fighters using weapons designed more than 70 years earlier. Although they lacked the techno-wizardry of the Pentagon forces, their budgets grew to approximately $600 million per year from tolling narcotics and the import of fuel used to feed a thirsty Pentagon presence. Fuel logistics alone cost the Pentagon tens of billions per year, despite the fact that a vast reservoir of crude had been drilled, proven, and properly cemented by Soviet forces before they left in 1989. But what could have supplied the entire Afghanistan operation with low-cost, reliable hydrocarbon energy was ignored in favor of paying, by the time the fuel reached the vehicles, an operational cost of $250 per gallon. I mean, where's the bravery here? Where's the bravery in people standing up and saying something? He says trillions of dollars and thousands of lives expended by America's youth were completely wasted, and nobody has ever been held to account. And so I know it's very, very disappointing what's happened here. He says America continues to wage futile forever wars of convenience because Washington believes we are immune to reality and evolved beyond history. Okay, here's something I really want to read, though. This brutality is the reality of winning wars. And he talks about the brutality of like going in and actually winning a war, winning it. He says the measured and proportional response crowd wants a war without war. It's a fantasy that only seems plausible to people who have never experienced war and are insulated from its consequences. Their firstborn children should be drafted into frontline combat units to relieve them of this problem. Anyway, the article is well worth the read. I mean, he's not the only one who talked about that. The Wall Street Journal, May 3rd, their big article for the weekend was by Barton Swaim, and he spoke with Mark Halpern. Mark Halpern is an expert in this area. He writes novels about it, but he does a lot of research. And he even says free nations prefer peace to war, but that preference is complicated by the continued existence of nations led by criminals, ideologues, and iridescents. In a fallen world, war eventually comes, want it or not. And the article goes on to say, guess what? America is not prepared. America is not prepared for war. And so these brave frat boys who defended the flag, okay, are you going to defend the country? It's about being brave, these guys. It's about brave, folks. It is about being brave as an adult. Now, I think it's important to read Be Brave books for your children, but I want you to be brave as an adult. And until that happens, we are not going to get back on track. We are going to be very vulnerable. And we are very vulnerable. Coming up next, my interview with Adrzejewski and what's happening in these woke universities. Thanks for joining me tonight on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
Just as a 23-year Marine, this angers me. But if I had left one confidential document out overnight on a desk, I would have lost my career.
It's a long way to the nomination. I still believe that Joe Biden will not be the nominee and somebody else will be.
It is very, very worrisome that Donald Trump is able to somehow convince so many Americans that he deserves any position of serious business.
Join the Beyond the Beltway conversation Sunday night from 10 to midnight right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Kathleen Maloney, House Republicans beginning an investigation of the president's decision not to send certain weapons to Israel, which Congress has already approved. Senator Joe Manchin tells Fox's One Nation with Brian Kilmeade.
Now making decisions on what you can and what you can't use. You got to do the our way or no way at all. That's not who we are, and that's not what we should be doing.
Israel has staged new airstrikes in Gaza. Shots are fired as police in a Cleveland suburb answer a domestic call.
One of the officers, a military veteran with less than 2 years on the force, was hit. He was rushed to a hospital but died from his wounds. His name has not been released yet, but Euclid's police chief called him an amazing human being.
Fox's Jack Callahan. Police say at least 12 shots were fired during that domestic call. America is listening to Fox News.
Our communities deserve to have their tax dollars spent efficiently. All over Chicagoland, there is an increased need for vital projects like wetland improvements, enhancing water quality, or stormwater mitigation to protect homes against devastating floods. Too often, public officials find themselves at the mercy of outside advisors when planning, budgeting, and building these projects. And let's face it, they rarely meet deadlines or budgets, leaving our communities vulnerable. There's a better way forward. Control Point Engineering. At Control Point Engineering, we're more than just civil engineers. We're champions of quality and efficiency with over 40 years of hands-on experience. Teaming up with Earthworks Land Development, we're breaking down barriers and streamlining processes. Say goodbye to disjointed partnerships and hello to seamless collaboration. From conceptualization to construction, Control Point Engineering delivers everything you need in one unified package, saving you time and money. Visit ControlPointLLC.com today to learn about our successful projects all across Chicagoland. Again, that's ControlPointLLC.com.
Don, can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's SPECTRIOS.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
Baseball and softball season will be starting soon at fields everywhere. I'm not talking about those overpriced professional palaces with the prima donnas. I'm talking about the neighborhood where the kids, Little League fields, their family, their fathers, their coaches will all be out in the sun. There's a company in Bridgeview, PYT Sports, that's working with volunteer coaches, Little League managers, and dads. Good, hardworking guys that want to help their kids and friends have a good time this summer instead of getting into trouble on the streets. PYT Sports has all the stuff you'll need to furnish dugouts and more. 2-tiered benches, helmet racks, bat racks, and individual player storage. Plus, windscreens and wall pads. Even field tarps to protect from rain so you're ready for game time. Check out the popular Field General, Commander, and Trooper helmet and bat combos to make your dugout look like the pros. Go to pytsports.net. That's pytsports.net. And get ready for a great baseball season. Play ball!
Hi, this is Maria and Diane with the Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of App Properties Christie's International. We wanted to tell you why we placed number 9 in Illinois as the top producing real estate team and number 1 in Arlington Heights.
In the past 9 years, we assisted 1,975 buyers and sellers achieve the American dream of homeownership, selling $720 million in real estate.
If you are considering making a move, we can help you get the most value for your home in today's market.
Maria and I have over 50 years of combined experience. We take a conservative approach in protecting your asset and will give you the direction and professional advice needed to achieve a successful transaction.
Our pledge to you is to have your best interest at heart. So get the special attention you deserve with our white glove service from our city division to the suburbs.
Contact us for a free, no-obligation market analysis at thedmregroup.com. That's thedmregroup.com.
Information verification, MRED LLC, 2013 to 2022. Real Trends Large Teams 2022.
We now return to The Real Story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. On the phone with me right now is Adrzejewski. He's the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. He's an Illinoisan. He actually ran for governor as well. He's done a lot in his life, including he co-founded the Homepage Directories, a $20 million publishing company that existed from 1997 to 2007. His works, though, as an Open the Books spokesperson, has been featured on BBC, Good Morning America, ABC World News Tonight, C-SPAN, The Wall Street Journal, and numerous other publications. I'm sure you are very familiar with his work. And in fact, you may have heard of his work and not known that it's really Adam's work. But he's an Illinois treasure and actually is a national treasure at this point for the work that he's done. Open the Books is the largest private repository of U.S. public sector spending. Its mission is to post every dime online in real time. And he actually began that mantra when he first ran for Illinois governor back in 2010. And he did not slow down. He kept it up. And for that, I also appreciate him because he stayed in the fight, whereas so many other people just leave, and he didn't. In 2022, Open the Books captured nearly all public expenditures in the country, including nearly all disclosed federal government spending, 50 of 50 state checkbooks, and 25 million public employees' salary and pension records from 50,000 public bodies across America. He is definitely a leader in transparency. Two of his most recent reports have focused on higher education and where their money comes from in part. And Adam, welcome to the program. Let's just get started with your report on wealthy elite universities like Harvard taxed you $45 billion in the last 5 years. What prompted you to do this report, and what are some of the biggest takeaways?
So I think, everyone took a look at the civil unrest playing out across the elite universities across the country, and they were rightly disturbed by it. But we thought that they would be even more alarmed to know that we're subsidizing those universities. So, Jeannie, we took a look at the sheer amount of taxpayer-paid federal contracts and grants into the 8 schools of the Ivy League, plus Stanford and Northwestern. And what we found was those schools are more federal contractor than they are educator. They receive more on federal contracts and grants that's provided by us, taxpayers, than what they receive and collect from students and parents on undergraduate student tuition. So all of us, Congress, taxpayers, citizens, we all have a big stake in those universities, and we then have a platform to hold them accountable.
That's remarkable. I mean, I just did a little walk by at Northwestern University, and I was just absolutely appalled. I mean, those protesters had actually spray painted Free Palestine on the Kellogg School of Management building. Oh. And yet we're funding this nonsense?
Well, it's an historic shift, as you witnessed. It's an historic shift that these major universities in favor of terror, hostage taking, the use of human shields by an Iranian puppet. That's Hamas, their incursion into our closest ally in the Middle East. That's Israel. So, people are rightfully upset. We have not seen this before here on American soil.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a whole new level of disgust that most people have now for higher education. I think their comeuppance is coming. So let's go into this, though. It's not just the fact that we are spending billions of dollars in state support. It's also the fact that, and I mean, let's just look at Northwestern. Okay, their total subsidies between 2018 and 2022 was over $3 billion. $3 billion. Now, I mean, look at Columbia. Columbia had almost $6 billion. It's amazing. You pointed out also Cornell, $3 billion in that amount of time. And then on another part of your report, and I really highly encourage people to go to openthebooks.com and read this report yourself. But you specifically then talked about some of the things that are being funded with taxpayer grants. And Cornell got $4 million in 2022 to increase the number of minoritized faculty in biological, biomedical, and health sciences through a partnership with NIH. Is that racially discriminatory?
That's a part of the aggressive DEI push, from the federal government pushed down into the elite universities. So look, that entire $4 million funded by taxpayers to increase minoritized faculty in the sciences, that's not based on merit. That's based on quotas. You are judged under the equity provisions. You are judged by the color of your skin, not by your merit or not by your character. It's opposite of equal opportunity, where you have an opportunity to create a future for yourself based on merit. It is antithetical to America's founding principles.
Well, let's just keep that in mind, because at the end of the thing, I want to talk to you about Illinois' new quest for race-based funding in higher education. That's a whole other story. I've already written about it extensively. But let's pick up on this one. So Stanford was the big winner in this, contract awardee race. They got $7 billion between 2018 and 2022, and they spent nearly $3 million to study sex hormone effects on neurodevelopment in transgender adolescents, according to you.
Yeah, it's big money. It's our money behind the entire push on all of this stuff. So you also have $3.5 million into Cornell University. And here's what that was for. Again, our money to, quote unquote, decolonize the earth sciences. They think that the study of the atmosphere and biology, they're too white, they're too Western, and they want to make them woke. And they're doing it with our money.
Yeah, it's just, well, I don't know. I mean, did you get to testify to Congress about this by any chance?
Not yet, but the list has gotten a lot of attention. Here's one: $3 million from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, Fauci's former employer, to Yale, to quote unquote use smartphones to understand the link between social and geographical context and HIV risk among men that have sex with men. This is your money, my money. We're paying for this stuff.
It's appalling. Actually, at this point, it's just appalling, especially because all of these universities have had some sort of unrest dealing with this Hamas attack on Israel, and they're on the wrong side of history on all of this, and they're elites. I mean, Northwestern settled with their protesters. They actually said, give us more, basically. They said, we're going to now endow particular professors from Palestine to come over and teach. And we're going to also give Palestinian scholarships to go there, too. So they capitulated completely. And now they're probably going to go get more.
Yeah, and obviously Columbia, they canceled graduation. And those poor seniors, their senior year of high school was canceled by the pandemic and by Anthony Fauci. And now their senior year graduation commencement at Cornell is canceled by these anti-Israel pro-terrorist protesters.
Okay, so Adam, we're going to go to a short break here, but I want to remind people what you said at the beginning. You said that they collect more in taxpayer-funded grants and research grants or whatever they are, and sub-grants and contracts than they collect in tuition. So we are funding these woke universities.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we'll be right back with Adam. We've got a lot more to discuss.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
The Fiber and Spice is a very effective product. There's no question. A product that is very reliable. It's a very good product.
I swear by these. Probably the best products that I've ever used. I think they're just simply good for your body.
When I used to work, I used to do my art over the weekend all the time. And now I do yard work. I have been doing yard work. I can sweep my floor and make my place look nice. And I take Balance of Nature, and yeah, it feels really good.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Gift giving occurs year-round, whether for birthdays, holidays, or a special expression of thanks to your best clients and customers. Of course, you want to show your love and gratitude, but you also want to give a gift that provides a positive image of you and your organization. Solaire infrared grills from BestHotGrill.com are both practical and unforgettable. Made in the USA, Solaire has a grill for most budgets, but more importantly, Solaire delivers the wow that everybody likes to receive in a gift. Impressive out of the box, and even more so in use, the Solaire infrared grills are the gift of value that will build relationships. With every great tasting, juicy meal enjoyed from their Solaire, they'll think of you. Step up your gift giving. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com. That's BestHotGrill.com, BestHotGrill.com.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S., over 15 million this year alone, and many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss even when you monitor your credit. If your identity's stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% their first year with my name, Clay, as the promo code at LifeLock.com.
And Doug. Being a spokesperson's easy, kid. Just say, customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Customize and save with Liberty Bibberty.
That's not it.
Letterby Mutual.
Mm-mm.
Liberty Musical.
Nope.
Lumberty, line.
It's 2 words. Liberty Mutual.
Got it. Don't not pay at libertymuttnoodle.com.
Wow. I guess I'll just do it. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. That's a wrap.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, welcome back. That was a very fast 8-minute conversation with Adam Adrzejewski, but we're not done talking to him because he wrote this other alarming report. This just came out May 8th of 2024, and this says that $10 million went to Harvard, Brown, and others, and it flowed from the state of Palestine. Adam, is there a state of Palestine? I didn't know there was.
Well, you're right, Jeannie, there isn't. It's a political fiction. It's an area of the world that's home to Iranian-backed terrorist organizations. So the state of Palestine, that's where you get Hamas. That's, they claim where the West Bank is. That's where Hamas set up the incursion into Israel back on 10/7. And so you have these universities, including 2 Ivy League universities of Brown and Harvard, plus a state university in Pennsylvania, that in the federal disclosures, the federal database where they're required to report their foreign gifts and grants, that entities in the quote-unquote state of Palestine, or in Palestine, the occupied territory, this is in the federal disclosures, except there's only one problem. The state of Palestine, it doesn't exist. The U.S. State Department and the United Nations both refuse to recognize its existence.
So what are they funding with these grants? I mean, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to curry favor with these institutions? What's their end goal in getting in sending this money? They don't have this money. I mean, Palestine doesn't have this money to give to Harvard and Brown.
No.
Or they actually know what they're doing is they're circulating our money that we gave them to help their civilian population. They're circulating it back to these institutions. Why?
Well, the institutions are setting up professorships. They're paying for Palestinian students on tuition. And so this is particularly troubling because this is an area of the world that has, massive issues. I mean, in Illinois, Jeannie, we have something called pay to play, and that's really bad. In the Palestinian Authority codified into Palestinian law is a concept called pay to slay. They pay pensions to the families of the dead terrorists. These are the people that kill Jews. They kill the Jewish people, and 10% in the entire budget of the Palestinian Authority goes out every year on these pensions, which is a magnet that encourages more terrorism. As a matter of fact, in the Palestinian Authority, you have 500 bureaucrat positions that dole out over $350 million a year in terms of those pensions. And that is the recycling of U.S. taxpayer money.
I mean, have you done a report on that yet? Because I'm very curious about how much we've given to the Gaza territory and the Palestinian people.
So the Trump administration, they cut funding for the first time in the 71-year history of the UN subsidy for Palestinian refugees. They said that the Palestinian Authority, the Palestine Liberation Organization, Trump said they weren't interested in peace, so they weren't going to get our money. Very simple. He put it on the table. He stripped him of it. Biden immediately, when he took the presidency in April of 2021, he restarted the aid. And at openthebooks.com last fall, we broke the story that over $1.3 billion of U.S. taxpayer money flowed back in through that corrupt UN organization back in on the Palestinian subsidy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very frustrated as a taxpayer to find out how they just are giving our money away to higher education that is woke and not getting the job done and actually allowing this protest to go. I'm disgusted by giving it away to terrorist organizations, which is exactly what we're doing. But I mean, if you want to come closer to home, and I mean, this is a little bit off the topic, but it was just announced that Governor Pritzker is going to give Rivian $827 million in tax subsidies to produce electric vehicles that are they can't sell. I mean, the parking lots at State Farm in Normal, Illinois, where Rivian is renting space, are full of vehicles that they can't move, and yet they're giving Rivian $827 million in tax incentives. And 5 days after that happened, Rivian announces that they lost $38,784 per EV in just the first quarter of this year.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's another thing that I'd love for you to, track down a little bit on that, those subsidies.
It's such a target-rich environment.
It is. I mean, you can't make it right. Isn't that right? How do you decide, Adam, what you're going to go after, what you're going to investigate? Well, and by the way, what are you working on right now?
Well, we're following the money in two areas. One is, to colleges and universities, our taxpayer money, the foreign funding, exactly what we've been talking about. The second thing is we've been quantifying the diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracies in the top 10 public colleges and universities across the country. So I'm talking, you'll see us come out with breaking investigation on the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. You've seen this play out on a national basis. Elon Musk tweeted out our findings when we did the University of Virginia, the DEI bureaucracy in a university founded by Thomas Jefferson, no less. So you'll see this play out across the entire country. Once this news cycle calms down on universities and colleges, we're going to come back to third-party royalty payments at the National Institutes of Health. We've got bombshell new disclosures that come out of our federal lawsuit. And this has also led to congressional legislation through U.S. Senator Rand Paul to create transparency of those third-party royalty payments, which passed the Senate committee 12-0.
Oh my gosh, that's great stuff. Hey, as far as the DEI stuff go, you need to look heavily into the higher education systems in the state of Illinois, because just today, when we're taping this, by the way, this is a pre-tape show, taping it on Thursday, I just listened into higher ed appropriations, where they actually rolled out to the committee their race-based education funding formula. It is the most nefarious thing ever. They literally say, you know what, you get more money, you're going to get more student funding if the student's Black. You'll get $6,000. If they're Hispanics, you'll get $4,000. If they're a rural kid, you'll get $2,000. I mean, it's just awful stuff. And I just want to make you aware of that, and maybe you can look into it as well.
So, Jeannie, everyone should understand that the proponents of this DEI, and that's what those race-based education funding allotments are, they are antithetical. They are exactly opposite to equal opportunity. And it's exactly opposite to the founding principles of this country as laid out in the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this is opposite when there's quotas, when you're judged by the color of your skin, your ethnicity, and not on merit. You don't have equal opportunity. It's called equity. And it's to the opposite of the Jeffersonian principles as codified in the United States Constitution by James Madison that led to the greatest nation ever created in the history of the world.
There you have it. Adam, thank you so much for your work. We really appreciate you. Everybody go to openthebooks.com and read their reports. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, we're back for a couple more comments on that. And picking up on the woke university stuff, there's a Newsmax article out that just came out today. Experts see possible hot summer over protest over Gaza. And it says the student protesters passionately say they will continue until administrators meet demands that include permanent ceasefire in Gaza, university divestment from arms suppliers and other companies profiting from the war, and amnesty for students and faculty members who have been disciplined or fired for protesting. Well, we'll see who's going to be brave in that discussion, whether or not people are going to stand up to these protesters. But the Wall Street Journal and others are predicting complete chaos. In fact, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article titled, actually, this was an editorial titled Chicago and Chaos. Now, I think that describes the city nearly every single day, but this one focused on the impending chaos expected at the DNC in August. That Wall Street Journal article quoted Jonathan Martin from Politico as saying there's already a joke going around Democratic strategist circles that the main difference between 2024 and 1968 is that the Chicago mayor this year will be on the side of the protesters, not the cops. Very interesting. Another very lengthy Wall Street Journal article doubles down on the likely chaos coming to Chicago. And that excerpt is also important to read. It says pro-Palestinian organizers say they are planning mass demonstrations around the convention. Hatem Abdiaya, national chair of the U.S. Palestinian Community Network, a group that has helped organize several pro-Palestinian rallies in Chicago, has said the so-called March on the DNC will be the largest mobilization for Palestine in the city's history. Now, I know that Governor Pritzker is nervous about this because I got word that he has asked local police and sheriff departments around the state to send deputies to augment security details for the DNC. Apparently, he's looking to find 350 other police officers, police forces from the state to come up to Chicago and protect the city. Meanwhile, local police forces and sheriff departments are saying that they have manpower challenges of their own, all due to the Safety Act. So get ready. It is going to be a hot summer of protest, I predict, in the city of Chicago, and we'll see how this all ends.
Listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Pressing ahead in Gaza, I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. Israel launching more raids on Hamas positions in Gaza. The IDF reports killing several militants in what it calls close quarters combat. On the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing with Egypt, Israeli forces say they have found and destroyed several tunnel shafts containing rocket launchers primed for attacks on Israel.
Nearly 220 days into the war between Israel and Hamas, Israeli forces continue to operate in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, with ground troops currently working around the Jabalia area to go after Hamas positions. It comes as Israeli forces say they are pushing deeper into Gaza's third largest city of Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are currently sheltering. The Israeli military says more than 300,000 people have made their way to the Mawasi humanitarian zone along the Mediterranean Sea in recent days amid ongoing evacuation orders.
Fox's Trey Yingst. The White House recently announced it has withheld a shipment of weapons meant for Israel out of concerns they would be used in a potential Rafah invasion. That move generating bipartisan criticism.
26 Democratic congressmen have written Secretary of State Antony Blinken criticizing the decision by the administration to withhold weapons to Israel. And of course, many Republicans are also outraged. And now the Washington Post is reporting the Biden administration, working urgently to stave off a full-scale Israeli invasion of Rafah, is offering Israel valuable assistance if it holds back, including sensitive intelligence to help the Israeli military pinpoint the location of Hamas leaders and find the group's hidden tunnels.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, in 2 television interviews, says Israeli tactics have caused a horrible loss of life of innocent civilians. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
For tonight, partly cloudy and mild, the low of 62. Cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm in the afternoon for Monday. Warm, though, with a high of 77. Tuesday, mostly cloudy, breezy, and significantly cooler. The high all the way back to 56. Then becoming warmer on Wednesday and sunny much of the day with a high of 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Hut, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responders and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 19th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing package, which includes 25 one-minute commercials between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. And we also have twosomes available in addition to foursomes. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Control Point Engineering, Waukegan Roofing, and by Crosscom Public Adjusters.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. So in 2024, in this contentious election cycle, one of the biggest questions that Republicans are raising, at least, is whether or not the elections are going to be fair and whether or not there's going to be fraud in it. And joining me today is Dr. John Eastman, the founding director of the Claremont Institute Center for Constitutional Jurisprudence, senior fellow of the Claremont Institute, and until January 2021, he served as the Henry Salvatori Professor of Law and Community Service at Chapman University's Dale E. Fowler School of Law. Now, I'm going to read more about his bio because I think it's important for people to understand just how prominent of a scholar Dr. Eastman is. He served as a law clerk for the Honorable Justice Clarence Thomas in the United States Supreme Court. He took a position with Kirkland and Ellis after that, and upon leaving Kirkland and Ellis, he began teaching at Chapman University, where he served as the dean from 2007 to 2010, and he founded the Center for Constitutional Jurisprudence in 1999 and has served as its director since that time. He's also served as chairman of the Federalist Society's Federalism and Separation of Powers Practice Group and as a chairman of the board of the National Organization for Marriage. He's on the advisory board of the St. Thomas More Society of Orange County, and his credentials go on and on and on. He's also a prolific writer. He's written a number of scholarly publications, including The Moral Conditions of Liberty, The Roberts Court and Federalism, and Full Faith and Republican Guarantees, Gay Marriage, FMPA, and the Courts. He's been invited several times to address various committees of Congress. He's represented 17 parties before the Supreme Court of the United States. He's appeared on all the major networks. He's written for all the major papers. He received his BA from the University of Dallas, so happy to hear that. And he actually earned his law school degree from the University of Chicago. So I am talking to a man who knows more about the Constitution than nearly anybody else in the United States, quite frankly. But will this be his epitaph? Will all of these accomplishments be who John Eastman is known as after the 2020 election debacle? Dr. Eastman has recently been recommended for disbarment in California, indicted in Arizona for spreading false claims about election fraud, and of course is one of those indicted in the Georgia RICO election case. And he joins me now to talk about all of this and much, much more. Dr. Eastman, thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
Jeannie, thanks very much for having me on your program and that overly long introduction, but thank you for that.
Well, I think it's important for people to realize that what they're accusing you of, which is essentially making legal arguments about what happened in the 2020 election and how it should be adjudicated, I think they need to understand that they're talking to somebody who knows the law inside and out. And I find it remarkable that you're being, basically put through this type of, I guess, legal persecution because you made legal arguments. Tell us what they've gotten wrong and why that, much of what they're doing in terms of indictments is legally fallacious.
Well, the basic premise of the two criminal matters in Georgia and Arizona, as with Jack Smith's indictment against President Trump in D.C., is that the election was perfect. In fact, the most secure in our nation's history. And anybody that dared to say otherwise must be lying. And although Supreme Court has protected lying as a matter of First Amendment law, apparently in speaking out about hotly contested issues of fact, where we weren't even lying, but the other side claims we were, that warrants the worst of discipline, criminal prosecution, as well as disciplinary sanctions by the state bars. So that's on the fact issue. On the legal issues, there actually is not a dispute about the fact that the elections were conducted illegally in a number of the swing states. The federal Constitution in Article 2 makes very clear that the power to direct the manner of choosing presidential electors is vested exclusively in the state legislatures. And that means when county clerks or secretaries of state or even state court judges altered the rules of the election game, without any legislative involvement, they were not only violating state election law, they were acting unconstitutionally. And there's no dispute that that happened, whether the change in dates in Pennsylvania or the elimination of the bipartisan teams going into nursing homes in Wisconsin, or the opening of drop boxes, and even human drop boxes, they called them in Wisconsin, or the watering down in Georgia of the signature verification process, or the complete elimination of the signature verification process in Pennsylvania. There's no dispute that those things happened, and those were unconstitutional. The question is, what can be done about it? And on that issue, the courts were refusing to take up those cases. An open question in constitutional law, still open after more than 200 years, is who has the authority to assess the validity of electoral votes when they get to Congress? Is it Congress? Is it the vice president? Is it the state legislatures? This has never been resolved. And throughout our history, people have made arguments both ways. So I made the argument that it was the vice president's role, and I think I've got a fairly strong grounding in scholarship and historical precedent for that. But the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court has never issued a ruling addressing that issue. And that means it's an open question of law. And as a lawyer, I'm supposed to be ethically bound to zealously advocate for my client, and pushing that position was zealous advocacy for my client. It was not illegal. It was not unconstitutional. It was not undermining our democracy, unless you accept the premise that anybody who's elected other than a Democrat undermines our democracy, which seems to be the case.
Well, it's interesting that you just connected a dot for me that I had not previously connected. And I hope that's what this conversation does for other folks out there that are listening to this and don't know what to believe anymore about you, about the election, about anything. But I personally think, and just a little side note, I think this idea that I think that this is going to come down to the same thing that we've seen so far. We now know that there was censorship in the 2020 election cycle. We now know that the 51 intel agents lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. We are now going to know that, guess what? 2020 was a completely fraudulent election. And I think that's going to come to pass. But in the meantime, the dot that you connected with me is the fact that when you went to President Trump and you said, look, I think the vice president has a role to play in saying that these electors should not be certified because there was potential fraud. And all you were saying is that we need to look into this further. We need to investigate this further. This needs to be investigated further. We have not done that yet. What you were connecting the dots to is the fact that those electors were illegally selected. That, because most people don't understand how the electors are selected in a state. And what you're saying is that they could not certify the election because the state had fraudulently conducted the election. And that's the connection there.
Yeah, it wasn't the state legislatures. They were sitting on the sidelines. It was election officials and county clerks or state secretaries of state who had absolutely no authority to be altering the rules of the game. And the legislators, hundreds of them, were sending letters to Vice President Pence saying, we tried to deal with this in December. We asked our governors to call us into special session. They refused. We're now coming back into regular session, and we want to take this up. Give us a week or 10 days to assess the impact of this illegality on the election. And if we find that the illegality affected fewer votes than the margin, we'll let you know that, and we'll recertify, and Biden will be certified as president. But if in fact the illegality affected more votes than the margin, and if in fact getting rid of the illegality and not counting illegal votes meant that Trump won instead of Biden, then in order to give effect to the will of the voters in our state, President Trump should be certified. I mean, it's one of the most core principles of our founding, consent of the governed. If they certify the guy who didn't actually win the number of legal votes, that's a fraudulent election. It's an illegal and unconstitutional election. And that's what we were dealing with.
So in the wake of the law that they passed post January 6th and to deal with this, and literally saying that the president of the Senate or the vice president can only read the effects of the vote from the states. That's all he can do in this electoral process, is read it and not make any adjudication as to the fairness of it. Does that mean that we'll never settle this in the future?
Well, I think the Electoral Count Act of 1887 is unconstitutional because it usurps power to Congress from the vice president or from the state legislatures. What they did in 2022 is make it even more unconstitutional. If you look at the founding period and the ratification or the federal convention debates that gave us the Electoral College, the one thing that's clear is the founders, the drafters of that Constitution, did not want Congress having any role in the selection of the president, because that would make the president subservient to Congress, and it would destroy separation of powers that they spent so much time carefully designing. That's why they gave the authority to the legislatures to direct the manner of choosing electors, and to the vice president to be the one who opens and ultimately counts, and therefore impliedly makes judgments about which ones to count or which ones to open. The language of the 12th Amendment is very clear. The House and the Senate are just to be present. They're not to have an adjudicatory role, because that would make the presidency subservient to the legislative branch. It would destroy separation of powers. And so they made it worse. But the fact that they had to amend it indicates to me that the prior language, even if you accept the Electoral Count Act as valid, the prior language was ambiguous about the vice president's role, which that's what lawyers do. When you're advocating for a client, if there's an ambiguity, you argue for the side of the ambiguity that furthers your client's position.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to take a really short break here, and we'll be right back with Mr. Eastman to go further into the brand new changes Governor Kemp made in Georgia just today. It's amazing.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It is absolutely the best product we've ever used, no question.
I would take it daily. You just woke up in the morning and felt great.
Well, I'm in my 90s. I was so impressed with it that I bought all my children that. I have 4 children, and they all got a shipment of it. It's a great product. Yes, I love it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Gift giving occurs year-round, whether for birthdays, holidays, or a special expression of thanks to your best clients and customers. Of course, you want to show your love and gratitude, but you also want to give a gift that provides a positive image of you and your organization. Solaire infrared grills from besthotgrill.com are both practical and unforgettable. Made in the USA, Solaire has a grill for most budgets, but more importantly, Solaire delivers the wow that everybody likes to receive in a gift. Impressive out of the box, and even more so in use, the Solaire infrared grills are the gift of value that will build relationships. With every great tasting, juicy meal enjoyed from their Solaire, they'll think of you. Step up your gift giving. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. That's besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com.
Our communities deserve to have their tax dollars spent efficiently. All over Chicagoland, there is an increased need for vital projects like wetland improvements, enhancing water quality, or stormwater mitigation to protect homes against devastating floods. Too often, public officials find themselves at the mercy of outside advisors when planning, budgeting, and building these projects. And let's face it, they rarely meet deadlines or budgets, leaving our communities vulnerable. There's a better way forward. Control Point Engineering. At Control Point Engineering, we're more than just civil engineers. We're champions of quality and efficiency with over 40 years of hands-on experience. Teaming up with Earthworks Land Development, we're breaking down barriers and streamlining processes. Say goodbye to disjointed partnerships and hello to seamless collaboration. From conceptualization to construction, Control Point Engineering delivers everything you need in one unified package, saving you time and money. Visit ControlPointLLC.com today to learn about our successful projects all across Chicagoland. Again, that's ControlPointLLC.com.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay, welcome back to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. I have Dr. John Eastman on the line with me, and we are talking about, of course, his situation with potential disbarment in California, indictments in Arizona, indicted in Georgia. And then what happens? Oh, just this week, Governor Kemp signed election law changes in Georgia. And so he now allows a formal challenge to as many voters' eligibility in the county as they wish. Now, just that one change, allowing citizens to challenge voters' eligibility. Well, wasn't that a huge part of your contention with the Georgia election, that they had a number of illegal voters?
Well, that was part of it, and the checks that the legislature had put in place to try and prevent that from happening, signature verification, and the verification had to be not against the ballot application, absentee ballot application. It had to be against the original voter registration record. Why is that so important? Because if you allow the signature verification on the ballot to just match the application, if an application is fraudulently submitted and then the same person then votes that ballot, the signatures will match and it'll be fraudulent.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to stop you right there, because in Illinois, we have break the law, change the law rules. And our own DuPage County clerk, I sit in DuPage County, the second largest county in the state of Illinois, about 1 million in population. Used to be prominently Republican, has now been moved to Democrat. But our Democrat county clerk was caught doing signature verification using the ballot application signature, not the voter registration signature. A judge even said to her, this invites fraud. He literally said that when it was challenged by a candidate, and the state legislature, the Democrat-controlled supermajority state legislature, went down and changed the law, saying that was an okay way to verify a signature.
It's extraordinary. I mean, that means the signature verification process that's supposed to be a check on fraud, that goes away. You open the door for fraud. And this was the problem we had with the 2020 election. A lot of these changes to the law that were unconstitutional because done by people that had no authority to make the changes cleared the path for fraud. In Wisconsin, we've learned that the Secretary of State's decision prohibiting the bipartisan teams from going in to supervise the collection of ballots in nursing homes, that was illegal. Very important part of Wisconsin's election law, because people in nursing homes are particularly susceptible to undue influence. And so you've got bipartisan teams that have to be there when those ballots are collected. The Secretary of State got rid of that, prohibited that from happening. And then
they prohibited sucker bucks. They got rid of drop boxes largely.
That's right.
I mean, they've made all these substantial election law changes in a number of the swing states where it mattered. And yet you're the one who is accused of, being an election denier.
Yeah, no, that's right. And there's no, I mean, what that door opened the door for fraud, and people walked through it. The turnout rates in the nursing homes went from 20 to 30% historically to nearly 100%, even in memory care wings. And many of the ballots were signed in the same handwriting. I mean, I don't know how much more evidence. People keep telling me you have no evidence. I don't know how much more evidence you can put out there, but you got to open your eyes to it. And the notion that it is a criminal offense to shine a light on this illegality, or a disbarable offense to shine the light on this illegality has turned our justice system upside down. And that's the bigger threat. I mean, whether or not I keep a bar license is relatively small potatoes compared to the threat to the rule of law, our adversarial system of justice, the ability of people in the future to get attorneys to represent them if they're taking on a controversial cause. Show up at a school board and complain about, men being in your girls' locker rooms or going against your daughters on the swim meet, and you could end up needing criminal defense lawyers. And which lawyer is going to stand up and represent those matters if it means that they're likely to be disbarred or they're likely to have their family and lives run through the ringer? This is part of a project to prevent conservatives from having representation, and it is dangerous.
So do you think that there is hope that some of the election fraud that did happen in 2020, and by the way, in the state of Illinois, one federal judge was allowed to change state election rules when challenged by independents on voter access in 2020. He changed it in 4 significant ways. I ran in that election. The independent got on the ballot in part because this judge allowed him to get on the ballot. I'm sorry, the libertarian did. And he changed it by himself, one federal judge. So I know what you know as well is that this was something that the state legislature could have done. They were in session to do it. They refused to do it. They let the judges do it instead. And it's the same situation that you had in Pennsylvania. Just go through Pennsylvania a little bit, because I think it's really important to highlight the absolute, fraud, really, the fraud, and how they changed election law.
So they got rid of signature verification. On the outer envelope, the state statute said it had to be signed, dated, and filled in. The state Supreme Court threw that out because we don't know what fill in means. I kid you not. It meant you had to put your address on because there was a spot for you to put your address in. Why is that important? Because if you no longer live in the state, you're no longer eligible to vote in the state. And signing that envelope and putting your address under oath, which means that you're attesting that you still live at that address where you're registered to vote. The judge said, well, we don't know what fill in means. It's ambiguous. I mean, this is laughable. So they got rid of all of that. They took an old statute that says you had to have somebody in the room for the counting of ballots, when in the room meant in the community room at the local library, and said if you were at the entrance of the Philadelphia Convention Center, and you couldn't see what was going on 2 football fields away inside that center, that was enough. You didn't have any right to actually observe what was going on. You could just, through telescope or magnifying glasses, see that people were working on something at the other end of the convention center. This completely undermined, not only opened the door for fraud, but undermined any notion of confidence in the outcome of the election that these rules are designed to protect.
So, in the wake of all this, and I'm so disappointed in USAA, but they debanked you. They gave you 1 week and said, see ya. Now, I'm a 40-year USAA member, and we are in the process of debanking them and getting rid of them. And it's not easy to untie your checking account from all the stuff that you have going on. And they just, I'm so disappointed in them. And I think we need to boycott them, writ large, the military community. And I am leading that charge.
Yeah, they forget who their customer base is. I don't know what caused this. It's either the corporate boardroom has gotten woke, like so many of our corporations in this country, and didn't want to deal with this, or they got tired of responding to requests for my transactional data from federal investigators or banking regulators, and spending the amount of legal expenses in order to respond to that for a simple personal account. But you would think somebody like USAA, that purports to represent its client base of military members and their families, who give put themselves on the line for potentially the ultimate sacrifice. You would think that some of that self-sacrifice would have rubbed off on the corporate boardroom. And if it was only to avoid the costs of this unconstitutional conduct by federal regulators, that they would try and stand up to it a little bit. But instead, they didn't. And they just canceled us and gave us a phone number for more information. And the phone number basically said, stuff it. We don't provide any additional information and our decision is final. Goodbye.
Well, you're a lawyer. Is there any chance you can sue them?
Well, they've got a contract that says they can cancel the account at any time. Of course, that's not true. They couldn't cancel my account if they didn't like me because I was black. In some states, they can't cancel accounts, a public accommodation that based on your political affiliation or viewpoint. And 15 state attorney generals are looking at this matter now. So we'll see what happens as a result.
Well, we are almost out of time here, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on and briefly explaining what you've been through and ask people to stand up and support John Eastman. I know you have a good Give, Send, Go for financial contributions, I believe, for your legal defense, and they could go there and help.
It's givesendgo.com/Eastman. People can donate. They can send us prayers. They're helpful. My wife and I read them and they're heartwarming. But they can also use that as a way to get informed because I post very good articles describing what's going on in the various updates we post there so people can see it there.
Well, just terrific. I wish you all the best and God bless you, John Eastman, for standing up.
Thanks, Jeannie, for having me. And you try and keep Chicago honest. They've been violating election rules for a very long time. So
I know
hopefully this light will put an end to that event once and for all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
California, the first state in the country to give employees the legal right to tell their bosses, do not disturb.
We don't need to be babied.
Your duly elected state legislator is always there to intervene in every aspect of your life. They're making everybody happier and more productive. It's wonderful.
Start your day with Chicago's Morning Answer. Weekday mornings starting at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
The systems that have been coming through would definitely pose some risk of tornadoes this week. And people that live in the southern United States are encouraged to pay attention and listen for later forecasts and be prepared in case bad weather approaches their region.
That's meteorologist John Hart from the National Weather Service. And that controlled demolition of the largest remaining span of the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland called off on Sunday. It's rescheduled for Monday evening. Of course, that massive container ship losing power and crashing into the bridge in the early morning hours of March 26. The demolition will allow the cargo vessel Dolly to be refloated and restore traffic through the port. America's listening to Fox News.
Parents, grandparents, you might want to be sitting down because this is amazing news. Imagine the student in your family not asking you for money to pay for college, or better yet, not getting into years and years of debt. How's this possible? Scholarships.com, a trusted and widely used scholarship platform that helps your student find scholarships and navigate the financial aid process. Get help to pay for college through a personalized list of scholarships that your student actually qualifies for. Better yet, every scholarship is vetted to ensure accuracy. And now the best part, drum roll please, it's absolutely free. Go to scholarships.com today. Both students and parents can join for free. And within minutes, receive your list of personalized scholarship matches. Check out the wealth of information and resources available at no cost. And read the fantastic reviews from other scholarship winners. Scholarships.com has helped over 23 million students and families find scholarships to help pay for college. And will help you too. Join scholarships.com today for free. That's scholarships.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Guevalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
It's Reveille. Last week, Illinois Democrats cynically gutted legislation that had already passed the Senate unanimously that dealt with child welfare and replaced it with language that, among other things, ensures voters in Illinois won't be weighing in about parental rights. From gut and replace to the governor's signature on the bill, it took them less than 48 hours to cancel the work of thousands of Illinoisans over the last 6 months. The bill added 3 advisory questions to the 2024 ballot, preventing any other citizen initiative questions from being put on, as only 3 referendum questions are allowed at one time. Their intent was to block the Parents Matter Coalition advisory question that asked voters to weigh in on a parent's right to make health decisions about their minor children and protect them from unwanted transgender indoctrination in schools and elsewhere. The Democrats knew we were collecting petition signatures to ask the electorate to weigh in. They also know that they are on the wrong side of parents and that the last thing they wanted was a ballot question that proved that. 78% of voters, including 62% of Democrats, believe parents have a right to know if their minor daughter is seeking an abortion, and a majority reject the teaching of gender ideology in schools. But Democrats don't care about the polls and are pushing on. Dem State Rep Ann Stava Murray even had the audacity to file legislation that would deem a parent abusive for refusing to allow their minor child to get a gender mutilation surgery. The Democrats want us to be quiet. We won't be. Our fight has just begun. Visit parentsmattercoalition.org and sign up to get involved. I'm Jeannie Ives. To learn more, listen to my radio show from 7 to 9 p.m. on Sunday and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. It's been a quick night, and we've got our last favorites here. We've got John Kraft and Kirk Allen, the Edgar County Watchdogs, here to weigh in on a few topics. And if we have time left, I want to talk to him about what I started the entire show about, and that's about being brave and standing up. It's about being a country that's ready to take on our enemies, which we aren't. Both these guys know that. They're prior military as well. But anyway, John and Kirk, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so Kirk, you had a couple interesting stories that you wanted to cover. Let's go right to it. What did your Illinois State Police FOIA turn up?
Oh, the one on the related to the investigation, was it with the guns? We've got so many of them, Jeannie. Refresh my memory.
I know. Okay, you know what? I think I clicked on the wrong thing. Did you want to? No, we talked about that already. You came up with the fact that they had.
Oh, it was the settlements. We did FOIA the settlements.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting on that.
Oh, you're still waiting on that. You haven't heard back yet. They having
Correct.
a hard time adding up the numbers.
No, they usually take anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks to respond. So I didn't expect them to comply with the 5-day notice.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I'm waiting on that number. I want to know how much taxpayers spent trying to hide things from taxpayers. So.
Well, and on that other topic, the guns that are seized that are in the possessions of these sheriffs, you had talked about have they registered them? Well,
That's
conveniently,
right.
the law exempts law enforcement from having to register. So no, none of them are registered because they have an exemption.
I forgot about that portion of the law, and that actually there was a lawsuit that included the fact that there was unequal treatment among citizens because if you are a sheriff or a police, that you don't have to register your now banned guns. And so these guys who literally got sold a gun illegally can possess them Still, it's just insane. There's nothing fair in this state. Everything's a scam. Everything's a hassle. Nothing's fair. All right.
I understand.
Anyway, so you had something else. We're right back to Shelby County. Oh, boy.
You know, if you made a check out to say it's your DuPage County dive team, it's a donation that you want to support your county dive team.
Okay.
And you get your check back through your bank statements and you find out it was deposited in some other account. Would that bother you?
Yeah, I would wonder who got the money. Yeah, it would bother me. Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out the Shelby County dive team, at some point, approximately in 21 time frame, which is about when they came to us asking for help, different input on how to get set up properly and how to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been collecting donations and depositing them into an entity that has nothing to do with county government or the county dive team. And our understanding from several sources, the purpose of it was to keep it out of the county's control because they wanted to control their own money, which it's county money, it's not their money, but they wanted to have control of it. And the outgoing state's attorney Rob Hanlon recovered over $24,000 during his investigation of this little operation that was going on and keeping money from the taxpayers. So we're really excited to see the county board, which has got some really great folks on it that are trying to do the right thing. Even with all the pushback from the locals, they've got a forensic audit that they're starting. And we're really anxious to see the results of that forensic audit because not only did they recover $24,000 that had been improperly deposited into an account that had nothing to do with Shelby County as far as the government goes, they also found cash in excess of $1,500 in a lockbox type, I don't know if they want to call it a cash box, but it was in a metal box inside the dive shed. Well, they're not supposed to be, handling cash. It's the treasurer's job to handle the cash and the money of the county. So there's a lot of questions to be asked, and it's unfortunate because the dive team does a great job doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But the handling of the money and the donations has put a real black eye on them because they just reinstated the dive commander who gave a big long speech about trust. We have to reestablish this trust. Well, trust goes both ways.
Right.
And when you're hiding money,
Right.
It's really hard to trust people.
Right. Well, it seems pretty straightforward too. If you're gonna, I don't know, if you're gonna collect and you have a bona fide nonprofit, I guess that's an auxiliary to the government unit that's run separately. I guess that'd be one thing, but that wasn't the case here.
No, it wasn't the case at all. In fact, the bank was accepting these deposits and depositing them into this nonprofit. Any bank teller should have been able to realize, technically under the federal laws, it was money laundering.
So how does this work if you're a volunteer fire department? How does that work? How do they get their money? Do they get government grants as well, even though they're a volunteer firefighter? But they can also accept donations, right? Is it the same deal?
Yeah, it goes into your general fund of your fire protection district account.
Okay, and they just weren't doing that. They had a separate account that nobody knew about.
The Shelby County Community Services is what we understand was the local nonprofit that does all kinds of good things for the Shelby County communities, but they were accepting money for all kinds of different organizations. And that's not, we as Watchdogs can't accept money for, say, your nonprofit or vice versa. That's not how it works. When someone makes a donation to an entity, it's supposed to go to that entity,
Absolutely.
not a third-party handler.
Right.
And in this case, you've got $24,000 of donations that should be collecting interest under the control of the treasurer, but instead somebody else is collecting that interest. So it's just improper. I don't know that based on what we saw from the report from the state's attorney, it didn't look like any individual personally profited from it. But all that aside, the money was recovered. And the forensic audit is going to really expose what's been going on with finances that have been kept secret from the public.
Okay. Wow. Another great story. Is everybody learning something? Because, You can easily get in trouble if you just continue to do practices that you know, maybe you get appointed to this dive board. Maybe you get to say, oh, well, that's how they always done. Well, you know, you need to check it out. You need to find out what's legal and what's not when you become a new member of any board. And
exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to talk with John.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
This is my father, Bob.
This is my daughter, Lisa.
And we love Balance of Nature. Don't you?
You think I'm going to say no to her? Balance of Nature is a very good product. It's simple application, a simple thing to take.
It's fruits and veggie in a capsule.
That's it. Balance of Nature has helped me get along very well.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responders and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 19th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing package, which includes 25 one-minute commercials between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. And we also have twosomes available in addition to foursomes. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Control Point Engineering, Waukegan Roofing, and by Crosscom Public Adjusters. You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. It is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. If you want to weigh in on the conversation, 312-642-5600 is the phone number here. We should have a little bit of time at the end of this segment to take any phone calls that may come up. But right now, we're going to talk with John. And John, you have something about a village president still using his title when he lost election 3 years ago. What?
Yeah, Janie, he lost his election 3 years ago. He also lost election to precinct committeeman 3 years ago and then earlier this year. And he's still, I pointed it out, or we pointed it out several times. His Facebook page is still Owen Costanza, Village of Poplar Grove president. He still uses villagepresidentpg.com email account. Why? I've never seen anybody that does this. But now, on top of that, and I don't know why it took residents of Poplar Grove so long to figure this out, but he's still driving around his private vehicle with mayor license plates on it. They found out because he pulled into a meeting. He's a village trustee now, not the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled into the Poplar Grove meeting, parked in the fire lane, and his vehicle had mayor license plates on it. And then they drove to his house, and that's his vehicle with the mayor license plates on it.
Well, I
Now,
guess
when you
there's
get
nothing
mayor
illegal about that, right? To have, you can personalize yourself. I mean, I can call myself president, I guess. I don't know. What other title do I want? A dictator? Should I just call myself that?
These aren't personalized.
Oh, they're not
plates.
personalized plates?
Specifically, no.
Oh my!
No, you
You're
can
kidding
get
me.
license plates. You know, if you're a mayor or village president, you can get mayor license plates, just like if you're
That would be like
yeah,
having still having state rep plates, so I can just speed around town and not have the police pull me over because I have state rep plates. Which, by the way, I never took them, ever. Did not need people to know, and I did not need the vanity plates saying I was state rep. Big deal.
Well, there's nothing wrong if you're authorized to use it. Have the plates and use it. Then there's nothing wrong with using it.
It's dumb. Sorry, it's dumb. I'm disagreeing with you. Not buying it.
But the
they don't
Secretary of
need
State's
vanity
rules
plates.
are-
It's BS. Why do you guys always just set me off?
But hey, at least he paid for it out of his own pocket. So
yes, yeah.
But with the Secretary of State rules, they have to annually submit a letter verifying his status as the president of the village, and also the plates must be surrendered when he no longer serves as mayor or president. So 3 years, I think, is long enough.
So what's going to happen to him?
Who knows? I know 2 years ago when I filed a complaint with the Secretary of State Police about the Thornton Township police vehicles with license plates on it, I complained to them, and they initially didn't see a problem until I told them that townships are not authorized police departments, and then they went and took the plates. So within a couple of days of the complaint about the Thornton Township police plates, they were up there in Thornton Township taking the plates.
Well, yeah, but that's a bigger deal. They weren't even authorized to have that police department. That's insane. This is Henyard setting up her own, protection racket.
I know. And all she did
disgusting.
was she just switched to using the city vehicles for everything. So,
well, what's the update with her, by the way? Anything else new?
Well, are they
getting closer to putting her in handcuffs? That's what everybody wants to know.
I don't know. The clerk is supposed to testify at a grand jury hearing, I think, this week sometime.
So she did disapprove Lori Lightfoot, though, being an investigator of the whole thing. So now what are they doing on that?
They'll just override her veto and
okay, all right, but they have to do that in another meeting.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, she vetoes the investigation of her. She vetoed the resolution to call for the federal authorities to investigate her, and she vetoes a lot of things that end up getting overridden anyway.
Okay.
But then the problem is she never puts it on the agenda to pay these people.
Yeah.
So so they can't get paid if they're not on the agenda, but they'll all eventually get paid.
Yeah, Lightfoot's looking for a payout. Of course she is. Hey, before I let you go, this is off topic, but it's something I opened my show with, and that is the whole frat boy thing. These kids, these frat boys, are being lauded as being so brave for having defended against the second takedown of the American flag on the North Carolina campus. And, to the point where somebody came up with a meme that shows them, putting the flag up like they're on Iwo Jima. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, my whole thing is like, if that constitutes as bravery for the next generation to just stand in the way of bullies that are masked up, I don't know. Then the country's gone. It's lost. If that's bravery these days.
Well, I hate the term bravery and I hate the term hero,
Yeah.
but it does take some backbone to do that. Just like it takes a backbone to, stand up at a county board meeting and speak your mind when some of the unruly public is there shouting you down, and they're going to search your entire family life history and start posting BS memes about you as soon as the meeting's over.
Yeah, I can see that. I just can't see it in North Carolina, I guess. But that's me.
But, having backbone is not bravery, and it's not being a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
use the word hero.
Yeah, the good thing is if this does cause others to stand up, which is you do see happening now in other places. Anyway, I got to go to break. Thanks a lot for coming on, and we'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, we honor tradition, celebrate faith, and cherish memories. Take an active role in establishing your legacy for future generations by pre-planning your final arrangements today. Alleviate your loved ones of future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of interest-free financing and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Okay, so another little update for over the night. Yes, the last kid did call mom on Mother's Day. So I'm 5 for 5, guys. 5 for 5. All kids reported in for Mother's Day. Hey, yay, that's so exciting. Anyway, I'm like, don't you know that your mom's on the radio, though? What are you doing calling me at this time? Aren't you listening to me? Of course he's not. There you go. Oh, well, it's Joe. He's an hour different. He's at West Point. So I'm going to cut him some slack since he's graduating in 2 weeks. So super excited about that. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay, very, very quickly, we'll take Jim from South Elgin. He's on the phone.
Well, happy Mama's Day, and my mom had a little a stone sign in her yard. It was "Mothers plant the seeds of love that bloom forever." And when she passed on, I was able to look through all her stuff, and that was certainly the case. All her scrapbook things, photographs and things from schools and things like this. It was really great. So, happy Mama's Day to all you beautiful mothers out there. But also, when you were talking before about the legal stuff, this is part of the problem. What's going on with this woke stuff coming in these law schools? There was recently a judge in New York said something basically like the Second Amendment doesn't apply here. And these people don't care about the law. And this is becoming a dangerous precedent because if they want to axe your gourd, you're screwed. And this is why this stuff's got to be resisted. We need to offset this however we can do so.
Yep, you're right, Jim. And you know what? The big thing here is that thanks for your call, Jim. I appreciate you weighing in. Look, we can win elections. People that feel like we do, common sense, by the way, common sense values are, upholding our founding principles. That type of thing does sell. We can win. You know what? How we can't win? We can't win if you don't show up at the polls. We cannot win if you decide not to vote. You have to vote in this election. Early vote, vote by mail, vote the day of. You have to vote. Anyway, so it's been a fast night. Thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. I will be back next week as well with a full program and lots to talk about. Thank you so much.
Tom for Town Hall. Angry that Israel wishes to win the war that Hamas and the Gazans started, Joe Biden announced that he would withhold weapons from Israel until they stop trying to attack Hamas where they have hidden themselves in Rafah. Just a couple of days after claiming to remember the victims of October 7, Biden wants to force Israel to let the perpetrators of the massacre off the hook. While claiming to support Israel and oppose terrorism, Biden cited civilian casualties as his reason for suspending the transfers. Hamas deliberately hides among civilian populations for this very reason, a war crime and a terror strategy that Biden has now validated by blaming Israel for the casualties. And Biden has done all this without any pressure on Hamas to return hostages, including Americans. 3 years ago, Biden betrayed our allies in Afghanistan. Now Biden wants to abandon American hostages and 9 million Israelis to Hamas and Iran. Biden is an utter disgrace. I'm Ed Morrissey.
This is Chicago's election station, AM 560 The Answer, WIND Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
It continues. I'm Ted Lindner, Fox News. As Israeli military forces prepare to enter Rafah, protests underway in Tel Aviv against the Benjamin Netanyahu administration's handling of the war.
Nearly 220 days into the war between Israel and Hamas, Israeli forces continue to operate in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. As the Israeli Air Force targets different Hamas positions in northern Gaza, it comes as Israeli forces say they are pushing deeper into Gaza's third largest city of Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are currently sheltering. The Israeli military says more than 300,000 people have made their way to the Mawasi humanitarian zone along the Mediterranean Sea in recent days amid ongoing evacuation orders.
Fox's Trey Yingst. The number of Duke University graduates walking out on their commencement speaker, comedian Jerry Seinfeld, over his views on the Israel-Hamas war.
Seinfeld is Jewish, and he's been very open and vocal about his support for Israel. Some of these students who interrupted the ceremony, they carried flags, some booed and chanted, "Free Palestine." Seinfeld delivered the commencement speech without any major interruptions, and he did not actually address the protesters directly. In a statement, Duke is responding to the incident, saying in part, quote, "We understand the depth of feeling in our community, and as we have all year, we respect the right of everyone at Duke to express their views peacefully." With
similar walkouts and protest efforts taking place in multiple